This problem is called application problem with a linear function, finding a coordinate given 2 points. I'm going to suppose that the height in centimeters of a candle is a linear function of the amount of time in hours it has been burning. After 12 hours of burning, a candle has a height of 19.8 centimeters. After 27 hours of burning, its height is 18.3 centimeters. We want to know what's the height after 14 hours. So essentially, we need to find, given the first two bits of information, so we want to find the slope. So we've got y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 for slope. That's our formula. Notice that these are your x values, so these are going to be the hours, and these are your y values. These are going to be your centimeters. So let's just call this x1. If that's x1, because it's in hours, then this is going to be y1 because it matches with that x1. If this is x2, then this one's going to be y2. And this one here, what is the height? So height would be another y, so we'll call that y3 if you want, is x3. Well, we don't have an equation that has three things, we just have two things. So what we need to do is we need to find the slope and then use that slope to find this problem. You might have already done a problem called application problem with a linear function finding something else. That's going to be the type 1 that we're going to get to in here just in a second. So first let's find the slope. So y2 would be 18.3 minus y1, which is 19.8, over x2, which is 27, minus 12. So we put this in our calculator and let the calculator do the work for us. So on the top, I need to know what is 18.3 minus 19.8. That's going to be a negative 1.5. Now on ALEKS, you do not have to, do these intermediate steps, but some students really like to because they're really careful. So I'll go ahead and show this work, but know that if I were doing this myself, I would go ahead and put it all in my calculator just like that because you can. On the bottom, you're going to have 27 minus 12, which is 15. And then you're going to take negative 1.5 divided by 15. I can figure that out in my head, but again, it's really no big deal to use your calculator because you're allowed to. And this is going to be a negative, so m equals a negative 0.1. Okay, so that's kind of the first final stopping point. Okay, so we got that, but that is not our answer. That's just an m. So now we're going to come back up here and we're going to say that m equals, instead of y2 minus y1, I'm going to use either y2 and x2 or y1 and x1. It's a little bit easier if you use y2, sorry. It's a little bit easier if you use y1 and, okay, so I'm going to make this y3 minus y1 over x3 minus x1. So I left the x2 out. You could have left the x1 out, but it's going to be a little bit easier to leave the x2 out. So then I'm going to plug in everything I know. I found the m was negative 0.1. I don't know the y3, so I'm going to leave that alone. Y1 is the 19.8, so it's the same as the last problem that we just did. X3 is 14 minus 12. Okay, so I've got negative 0.1 equals y3 minus 19.8 over 2. If I didn't know that was 2, so if it wasn't really easy to figure out, I could just use the calculator for that. Now get rid of dividing by 2 by multiplying by 2, so that's going to give you negative 0.2 equals y3 minus 19.8. And then to solve for y3, get rid of subtracting 19.8 by adding 19.8, and that's going to give you 19.6 equals y3. I think that this is my answer, so let's just sort of look at it a little bit and make sure that it makes sense. You got your candle height at 12 hours. So let's say this is 12 right here, and this needs to be 19.8. Okay, so then 27 hours is over here. This is 12. And this is going to be, oops, sorry, straight line. This is going to be 18.3. So then it asks after 14 hours, which would be about right here, does it make sense that this answer is 19.6, which is what we got? Well, sure it does. It needs to be in between those two. So just after you have the answer, just sort of make sure that it makes sense. And don't forget that this is height, and height is in centimeters. So this is actually 19.6 centimeters. You may have to put that in your answer blank. Good luck with this topic.